Hi guys, I'm gonna talk about, is the 5070 underrated? I will give it a short answer. It's a bit more complicated. I would say for the most part, it is a bit underrated. I want to show a couple games, show you why it's kind of underrated. I think Borderlands will be a pretty good start, something to talk about, but I think I'm gonna focus on Avatar. And with my experience with the no, I don't want that. With my experience, it's been more about getting the games I was already playing at higher resolutions and higher graphics. And that has been one thing I've been loving. I think Kingdom Come is definitely one of those games. And some of these games also went from kind of unplayable to playable at higher resolutions and higher graphics than even the 2070 was. And this is like a huge upgrade. Kingdom Come is definitely one of those games. Have I fully optimized this game to run the way it is? And that's another key thing. A lot of reviewers that talk about like new graphics cards when they get a lot of them sent. I bought this with my own money, and I paid about 480 for the card. And in the past week and a bit, I've been re-enjoying this graphics card. Gonna check the recording. Is showing the game. I think that's another thing why I want another monitor, so I'm gonna check to see the recording is actually recording not a lot of this. So we're at 4K at basically ultra setting. Post process quality it's basically like motion blur and shit. I don't want that. So that's settings like that I will lower down. Are we at ultra high? Some are at ultra high, some are at very high. As in the one that doesn't do shadows is at high. Depending on how the game goes, maybe I will put this stuff very high. But I don't think you're gonna notice, and that's one thing. Volumetric effects is something that I discovered with Borderlands 4 actually. Volumetric of any type is very heavy on you. They're very demanding for some reason. In Borderlands 4, you turn that, there's a reason why the developers have added more volumetric settings in Borderlands 4. It's because it just had an on-off switch. Now we'll have like several different settings change for each type of volumetric. So you got volumetric clouds, you got volumetric shadows. You also got like light volumetric shaft. Great. These are basically maxed out. These and motion blur is off. You see, it even says here the quality of motion blur in DOF. Right? We don't want that. So this is how I've set up the game to run on this. And we had 4K full screen. HD textures are on. Don't need this as well. VSync is off at the moment. FOV really goes up this 75. Okay. Look at that. Go back. No. So let's get to it. This is why I'm saying this card is kind of underrated, because it doesn't quite make it, right? It can almost, you have to wait for the like for it to load in, which is so low. Kingdom Come, it is an older title, but it's still a very demanding title. Brass looks great, but also related. If I run over into the town here. You can't jump over on, surely. Maybe not. This is a very realistic game as well. So like this is I haven't played through the game yet. I'm literally at the beginning. So there's probably areas that become even more demanding. But as you can see, getting into the 40s in this town, this village. Right. I've noticed big drops around foliage. So around this tree, you drop down to the 30s. And this is the problem with graphics. This is gonna happen on even the 5070 Ti. We're gonna drop, probably not as low as this. Probably gonna drop to the 40s to 50s in a game like the first Kingdom Come Deliverance. Deliverance 2 has a big advantage. It seems to be a little bit more optimized than this one, but it also has DLSS. This is native 4K, right? And this is great, and it's great. And this is running off the hard drive as well, so the load times. Yeah, and I do like that effect where your vision actually dulls if you sprint too much. Again, I'm just walking in the village, the little market area. There's not much going on in here, so it'd probably drop even more. Am I fine with that? Yeah, of course. It's still playable. It's still enjoyable. It's still a great experience. You know, this is a game that came out before frame gen came out, right? Before optimization went to hell, right? This is a well optimized title considering what we're getting, how detailed this world is, how they focus on realism but also great storytelling, and as you can see, it can go up into the 70s. The only thing that you would do to improve the frame rate in this game is maybe lower the resolution to 1440p. I don't see us needing to go down to 1080p, but you could, and it's a very playable experience. My 2070 couldn't do this. It would basically die. It was getting like 8 FPS at the starting point. Oh, I'm pointing at the screen as you can see, but the spawn point where I was when we started was standing next to the blacksmith. It was getting about 8 to 10 FPS, possibly 20 in certain situations, but that is not playable, right? I would say above 30 FPS is playable, especially in a single player world, a single player game like that. It's an open world title, and bear in mind, consoles a lot of times with open world titles only get 30 FPS, and sometimes the graphics aren't as good. Like The Witcher 3 is another title. One reasons why I wasn't playing the Witcher titles to go and upgrade. The Witcher 3 was one in Cyberpunk. Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk are the two titles that I wanted the show wait until I upgraded the system into something that's more doable. So yeah, I'm re-enjoying the 50. And another game I do want to show off is, yeah, I guess The Witcher 3 is a good title to show off. Ray tracing, even frame gen is in that game. Resident Evil 2, I only installed this last night just to see how much more I can put graphics and how more performance, and it's around that 70s to 80s at basically maximum set. Okay, great. It's one of the older Resident Evil remakes. It's the first remake, not counting the semi remake of the first game. But The Witcher 2 has a feature in the game that is huge, man. The Uber sampling is very hard. So I would say The Witcher 3 now getting around 60 FPS with ray tracing. Yeah, sorry about that. Someone just interrupted as well in the recording, but we will check out The Witcher 3 with ray tracing, and frame gen is in the game, so I could enable that. I don't think I need to. If I had a higher end monitor that is like 240 hertz, maybe I would. I know the frame rate doesn't look good right now, but just give it a minute and it'll go 60 FPS with basically maximum rate. And this ray tracing looks really good. It's really well implemented. And CD Projekt Red going over the Unreal instead of the Red engine, I don't know if I like that. Especially with how good this engine still looks. Like, The Witcher 3 is essentially a 10-year-old game. I know that sounds crazy. It's like a 10-year-old game nearly. There is occasional stutter. I know this is just the opening area, but this is how I've been testing the game. Basically, the floor has reflections, and with ray tracing off, those are completely gone. And this is the thing I do like about The Witcher 3 over The Witcher 2, is I can change a lot of graphical settings on the fly instantly. Ray tracing basically maxed out, other than ambient occlusion does. Who cares about ambient occlusion? And yes, DLSS add performance. But I don't think it's quite, because we have ultra performance and ultra quality. Yeah, just so unless this is going down to like that 30% range, that's basically 720p. This is basically 1080p up to 4K, and it just looks way better than 1080p. The sharpening is that low, so we don't need huge. We don't need huge sharpening in it, because it all. And I believe this is probably DLSS 3 and not DLSS 4, so it's not the transformer mod. But I can change it with override, which I don't know if I've already done. I don't think I have. I'm gonna include screen space. I'm gonna include. We can bump that up. HB8 or I'm not that bothered about ambient occlusion as long as there's enough of it. Chroma aberration is something stable in The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3, it's definitely one of my top games of all time. It's within, don't know if it's in the top 10. There's a lot of like PS2 era games up. And we're basically running the game at ultra. Yeah. Couple of settings to ultra plus is these two, and we're still getting around 60 FPS with ray tracing on. And I will show you what the game looks like without ray tracing. And as you can see, those reflections are gone. We are hovering 90 FPS with ray tracing on. Which, as you can see, those shadows are completely gone. Shadows are just gone. You can hear any background noise. Is that people in the background are very loud. I think they're doing it on purpose. Very annoying. So, The Witcher 3? Again, this is another title where even the 5090 can struggle with this title. But it's when you get into the big city, you're going to be CPU limited. You're pretty much CPU limited. And as you can see, if you look at Series Sword, it is slightly ghosty, right? Just slightly, but it's not too bad. And that's just DLSS has come a long way, and we do have access to frame gen. Do I need frame gen in it when I'm already getting around 60 plus? Again, I haven't tested combat. I haven't tested any of that stuff, so I can't say for sure. I can't say anything. Do I have to play the game without ray tracing? Yeah, and as you see, the floor is not shiny anymore. It's very flat. And the glass on the window is also slightly worse, but it's very hard. That the glass on it very weird, but that's kind of realistic looking still. Right? So this is literally the start of the Does the game get more demanding? Yeah, it is. I don't think it gets that much. So, as you can see, we're definitely at 4K. We're just using DSS performance, which puts the game to basically 1080p. We're basically playing at 1080p. It doesn't look like 1080p. And the performance is actually worse than 1080p because we're using upscaling to get it there. And yes, that's with Hairworks on. Because what have they done in the DX12 version of the game? Hairworks is not as demanding as it was when DX. If you play the X11 version of the game, Hairworks, just turn it off and your performance be good. But on DX12, it doesn't really hit the performance that much. If we go to the graphics, put ray tracing back on, and I will actually look at what ultra performance looks like. It's gonna look pretty bad. If I remember right, it does look a little bit rough. It gets quite soft. And yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is a lot softer. Especially at the distance. Actually, it's not too bad. Maybe it is just an EP. I'm trying to look at Siri to see how ghosty she is. I would say the tree leaves are very pixelated and noisy. But actually, it still looks pretty decent. Would I play it with ultra performance? No, probably not. We're probably upscaling from 720p now. And any movement is a bit ghosty. So, and a bit of pixelation on the trees. Yeah, this game is basically maxed out on 5070. That's pretty impressive, I would say. The Witcher is pretty impressive. It's still a absolutely amazing showcase of graphics. Like, this is a Red Engine title, and so is Cyberpunk. But The Witcher 4 is going to be Unreal 5, and I'm going, oh, I expect a lot of stuttering and a lot of performance issues. That's what I'm expecting for The Witcher 4. A lot of stuttering. The graphics are obviously going to be better. But the Red Engine has proved itself time and time again, right? Is performance mode really that much different? It's really hard to tell. It's maybe less ghosty. The trees are still a bit noisy, but not as bad. Is it worth the performance hit? Clarity. DLSS is just absolutely amazing tech now. And I believe this is just DLSS 3, so I can actually make it DLSS 4 if I want. And some of that ghosting should go away. It might not come out on the recording very well. I'm gonna just check the recording. Just checking, see if borderless actually hits the performance. It is a little bit of thing, like a smidgen. But I prefer exclusive full screens, like true full screens, because there is a performance hit if you go borderless. Especially in Call of Duty, I've noticed. And I'm glad that has an exclusive full screen. I remember that with Modern Warfare 2.22. When I was in borderless versus exclusive full screen, there was a huge difference. But in a lot of titles, not necessarily much of it. Yeah, me alt tabbing doesn't work. I'm trying to bring up my report. See if it seems to be, yeah. It's not showing. the show. But it's just the quirks of recording. So The Witcher 3 is another title that I want F5074. Originally wanted 5080, and then we can clearly say, yes, we can definitely play The Witcher 3 at those settings. You'll get more. That's all you'll be getting. I think it's roughly 50% more performance, I think, roughly, give or take. So imagine it just at a higher resolution. That's all you begin. DSS quality looks great in this title. So basically what I'm getting at, that the games went from some games went from not playable to fully playable at higher resolutions even, right? Because a lot of times I had to set the game to 1440p and then use DSS to get it playable. And there's maybe a very rare chance that it was a game that would set it to 1080p and then DSS quality. I think there is a game like Lords of the Fallen. I know a lot of people are probably going to hate on this, but this game is really good, especially considering that they support it and enjoyed it. With Call of Duty, my frame rate hasn't really changed, but that's not because of a CPU bottleneck. That's because I chose the game to run like that. I choose to get the game to run like that. And as you can see, a lot of these titles, this is on the SSD by the way, so, and it still takes ages. And a lot of these titles, I am choosing to upgrade the graphics, and the frame rate might actually be more stable as well. And Lords of the Fallen may not be the best choice. And considering that my 2070 Super was essentially equivalent to a PS5, despite the comments in the last video I did about performance of the system, then you nowhere near a PS1. It's like, how if it's getting the exact same performance, the exact same graphics? I don't know what went through people's heads when they say stuff like that. And I think it's because people have a high opinion of the PlayStation. They think it's a high-end system. No, it was mid-range deployment. It is a mid-range system. Consoles have always been essentially a mid-range system. The PS4 was essentially a mid-range system. If you want a PC equivalent, it's basically an RX 6700, not an XT. And as you can see, this game, I also disagree with people who expect to play the game at essentially experimental graphical settings. It's literally called that in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It's called experimental. In this game, it's called cinematic. I disagree. You should not run those. They are designed for what is called of the future, or as it says, it's very experimental. And you're not going to notice the difference. In Kingdom Come, you have ultra and then experimental. Yes, I think in this area might be CPU limited, as we're getting around 50 to 60% of the GPU usage. So I might be slightly CPU bottleneck. But look at the frame rate. We're still getting good frames, and the game is basically not cranked. What am I doing? Why does it set itself to 1080p? That is annoying. I think it's because the last time I played it, it was on a play and HDR. Maybe we should keep it off for recording reasons. That's probably why it was bottleneck. DSS at quality. Bear in mind, on the 2070, I had to do low and medium graphic to get this playable with DSS performance. Right? right? And I think I might have done it at 4040p. Now we're at 4K DLSS quality and still getting not, and also higher graphic, like ultra and high. Again, post processing, we don't want that bull crap. We really don't want. We don't want motion blur or film grain or chromatic aberration. We don't want that. The only one I'm fine with is the Umbra. You don't see very often, and it's a bit of distortion going to. It's not too bad. Huh. Now we're playing at 4K. Now we're basically 100%. It's basically, and we're still getting around 100 frames a second. So the changing the resolution didn't really change the performance. The PS5 at best is around at 60 FPS. And no, the PlayStation does not run at 4K native. It's nowhere near 4K. Is this going to be night and day faster than the PS5? No, probably not. But you can see we're hovering around 90 to 100 FPS. At basically maximum settings, not counting cinematic. Okay? If anything, the textures is the only thing probably could put up. Texture quality cinematic. Because we got enough VRAM. We have 12 gigs of VRAM. Should this card be faster than it should be? Yeah, a little bit. I would say it should be a little bit faster. Just a touch faster is what it should have been. Even these OC cards would have been a bit faster. So as an example, this card should be able to handle about 110, 120 or so. But it isn't. Is this game a well-optimized Unreal 5 title? Compared to what we've seen? Yeah, it is, especially now. At launch, it was a mess. Yeah, it was a bit of a mess. Does this game stay around this FPS? Yeah. I've played enough of the game to say it confidently. Yes, it is. It runs very well. So, and the PS5 Pro, this is still faster than that. Roughly, right? All they did with the PS5 Pro is up it by one tier of graphics. They kept it the same generation. It's the AMD's 6000 series, right? The RX 60 series, right? You go from essentially a 6700 to a 6800. That's it. Are those old cards? No, the cards from 2020, which is where the PS5 is from. Did it do anything to the CPU? No. And that's one of the reasons why the PS5 Pro is not worth it. Because it didn't upgrade its CPU. It's basically a Ryzen 5 3600 with 2 extra cores. And you go, oh, that's a Ryzen 7, right? 3800. And it's like, no, it performs slightly slower than that. Because its clocks and power consumption was a restraint on it. They need to keep it around that 300 to 400 watts, right? They are power restrained, budget restrained. Because the PS5, they wanted it around that £500 range, 550 or 450. And the performance is great, and this is why it's very underrated. And all these reviewers are obviously going to max out the graphics just to show what it's truly capable of in terms of the highest graphical setting. And yeah, we're not at native 4K really, but DLSS is so good that it may as well be at the highest graphics. And that's why this card is very underrated, because a lot of reviewers max the graphics out on all of these titles. And you shouldn't do that. Even on a 5090, I don't think you should. Like, Borderlands has its own equivalent. Like I said, Kingdom Come uses experimental naming, Borderlands uses badass, cinematic, a lot of Unreal 5 is similar. You shouldn't go there. Go to high or ultra, and you won't be able to tell the difference, but your frame rate will be noticeably better, right? And look how good this game actually looks. It looks pretty damn good. And I do love Lords of the Fallen. Really love this. We're not talking about the original Lords of the Fallen. Even though I say, yeah, that's pretty bad. But this reboot, semi-reboot, I would say, if you listen, pay attention to the lore, that was one of these original game. It had no story and no lore. It was pretty bad. But this is full of lore. Do I get lost in this game? If you watched my playthrough, then you have a good idea. That wasn't the first time playing it. I was figuring shit out, and I was launching when the game was more good. I wish I had Liza P right now, because I could show that game off. I want to see the performance. The beast. That game was basically running at 1080p on my 2070 Super. Again, 2070 Super and the 6700 RX 6700 are very similar. The only difference is the PS5 has about 12 gigs of RAM and about 3 to 4 gigs system. And you have to think about it now. You have to think, what is the PC equivalent to the PlayStation 5? What is it actually performing? What's its graphical setting? A lot of times medium to high. Textures are probably a lot higher, since, like I said, 12 gigs. What does this GPU have? 12 gigs. Is it going to be using 12 gigs at all times? No, sometimes it's around 10 gigs. How do we figure this out? Couldn't really tell you exactly, because then this is when that cinematic textures right now, and it's still below 8 gigs. We're perfectly fine. And the speed of the RAM, yes, I'm not showing the combat, I'm just kind of going off topic. It kind of just shows that this is a very underrated title. What's a title that I do not have access to right now that is also not performing very well on this card? Oblivion Remastered. It's another Unreal title, but it's more of a graphics overhaul. It's what they're using it for. On top of the original game. The original Oblivion is still running in the background. And it's shit. So yeah, I think that's all I can really say. Basically, the reason it's complicated is because there's more to it than just a straight answer, yes or no. It's not a yes. It's kind of somewhere in between, I would say, somewhat. Because in some of these games, it should be running a lot more, considering it's already a little bit faster than its previous generation. The 50 series as a whole is disappointing, and it's because it's still on the 4nm process and not the new 3nm that the 60 series is more likely going to be running, which is why I have big hopes for it. I have big expectations on it. Yeah, that is a nice, quite a longer video than expected. I'm gonna have to edit it down quite a bit because of the interruptions that we had on. But yeah, I would say, yeah, the 5070 is definitely underrated, but not as badly as some people were. It's not as bad as a lot of the viewers. Is it disappointing? Like I said, it's more complicated than due to the 4070 Super exists, it's not that much faster. So if you have a 4070, it's not worth it. Unless you go up to like the 5080, then it'd be. Also, just bear in mind, this graphics card is trading belows with a 3090. And I didn't specify 3090 Ti. It is definitely nowhere near as fast as the 3090. The 3090 Ti was essentially god tier back when it came. And that was regarded as a 4K card, which is why the 5070 is doing a lot of 4K content. Even on an Unreal 5 title like Lords of the Fallen, which is why it would be Fallen, because it's an Unreal 5 game that has had a lot of updates. Whereas Liza P did not really get any updates for not substantial updates like the 2.0, and in this case, the final major one, 2.5. 2.5 was a pre upgrade from what I've seen. For the most part, the 2.0 was the biggest update. Then the 2.5 needed update. So yeah, guys, I would say it's definitely an underrated graphics. So I think we do for the recording today. So I will see you guys later.